You cannot do an interview with Tom Seaver without talking about the Midnight Massacre, 1977. I mean, to this day, people remember where they were, Tom, when they heard about the trade, and that was the deal to Cincinnati. Shipped you out of New York after arguably some of the greatest pitching in the history of the game.
Well, it was time to go, too. M. Donald Grant did not like me, and I didn't like him.
And he was the chairman of the board.
He was chairman of the board, and he was running it. As I said before, the most important piece of history for the New York Mets is when Gil Hodges came to the ball club to give it credibility and professionalism. The worst day is when he died, because that began to stop. I mean, the ball club traded Nolan Ryan, who is arguably had as much, more talent than anybody's ever been on a mound, ever. And they traded him, and Gil Hodges didn't know about it. He didn't know about it. They didn't ask Gil Hodges about that. And then when he died, it was the organization began to turn. And from a professional standpoint, the best thing that happened was for me to get out of town and let there be a rebirth, which happened.
Why did it get so ugly? Was it your dislike for M. Donald Grant? Was it Dick Young and the Daily News? Was it a combination of all of those things?
That's all part of that stuff. And it's not, you know, it obviously was not one of the most delightful periods of my life. And I look at things in a way where it was one of the most delightful things that ever happened to me. And I got to go to Cincinnati. I got to play with Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan, right? George Foster and Pete Rose, and, you know, with that ball club. Ultimately ended up coming back and then getting traded to Chicago. I got to pitch in Fenway Park. I got to pitch in Comiskey Park.
Yep.
I got to see the American League. I got to have Carlton Fisk as a catcher. So you can look at you look on the dark side, or you can look at the bright side. I get to play in Detroit. I get to play in the American League teams against the American League ball clubs, et cetera, American League players on a day-to-day basis. And I get to play with Ozzie Guillen, having my shortstop, asking me what. He said, "Tom, what are you doing?" He said, "Just sit back and watch, Ozzie." I mean, I have great memories there as well. So yes, yeah, it depends on perspective. Was it, again, it was the right time to go, and it had, for talking about me being traded, it had to happen that way for the organization to change, because that to me, that core of management had to go, and that's what happened.
Tom, you mentioned you got a chance to play with Pete Rose in Cincinnati. Here's a philosophical question. Should he be in the Hall of Fame?
Under the rules, no. Can't be in there. You can't bet on this. The one thing you can't do, can't bet on the game of baseball. And he bet on the game.
Tom, let's take a little bit of a trip down memory lane. We've got some of your memorabilia behind us through the years, and that batting helmet right there, 1969, the Miracle Mets, and that's signed by everybody on the team.
Even Don Clendenin's on there, and it's a 69 World Series MVP that Clendenin was in the upset of the Baltimore Orioles. One of the great underrated teams, you know, in the history of the game of baseball, because fundamentally we were as sound as you could be, you know, defensively, and we had a great pitching staff, good bullpen, etc.
Hello everyone, I spend a lot of time trying to get you guys nice videos, so please subscribe to this page. Thank you.